On September 11th, I was in college, and I was at Illinois State University, but we were in our apartment, and I was sitting with a couple of my roommates, and we had woke up early that morning just to get ready for school, and we saw that the Twin Towers had been hit, and I just remember thinking that it was like a tragedy. This was crazy. What's going on? What's happening?
On 9/11, it was a very emotional day. I was at work at DMH.
During the 9/11 attacks, I was here at Muff teaching 5th grade at the time, or maybe it was 3rd. I forget exactly what grade it was, but anyway, us teachers had tears in our eyes, but we tried to hide it, and we put smiles on our faces for all of our children here at school. And then we got home and we watched the news and we shed our tears there. We came back the next day on September 12th with more smiles on our face, and we answered lots of the kids' questions about the 9/11 attacks.
On 9/11, I was in 5th grade in Mrs. Corey's class at Morrow Forsyth, and when we watched it on TV, I was very confused and scared because I didn't know what was going on and where these people were at.
Where was I on 9/11? I was here at Muffley School. School had just started for the morning. Kids were coming in. I remember that at first I was confused because I didn't know what was going on. We turned our television on. We watched some things that were going on as a class. I remember the teacher next door to me ran over, and she was very, very upset because her son lived in New York City. And she said, I have got to go home and call and make sure he's okay. And she was very upset. And I had all of my kids write in their journal about how they felt. Once we understood and we heard more information on the TV and on the news and from other adults, then we became very, very sad about all the people that lost their lives on that day. Because the more people we talked to, the more people we found out had a connection to New York City or to the people in Washington, D.C. And the things that happened that day affected our whole country. But the good that came out of it is that we stuck together. And pretty soon everybody was flying the American flag on their car and in their yards. And I remember having a moment of silence after it happened as well.
I was actually sleeping. I was working midnights, and I woke up at like 4 o'clock and found out on the news.
I was teaching at Durfee Magnet School, and it was early in the morning, and one of the teachers came in and told us that the buildings had just been attacked. And we started watching the television to see everything that was going on. And of course my second graders didn't really understand what was going on, but the adults in the building were very upset. So we made it through the day and we worked together.
I was a freshman in college at Eastern, and I was in an elementary math concepts class and had not heard anything, and my professor came in and was crying and all upset, and that's where I was when I found out about it. So then class pretty much ended, and I went back to my dorm room and watched the TV stations with all of the footage from New York.
I first heard about the incident of 9/11 when I was driving my 4-month-old baby to daycare. It was on the radio, and I remember feeling really confused and shocked and sad. And then I took him to daycare, I went back to teaching, and later on the principal came down and told me that there was more incidents that had happened and that America was under attack. And at that time, then I started feeling really sad and scared. But when I went home that evening, I saw on the news a lot of heroic events from the American people and how we all pulled together.
On 9/11, I was teaching at William Harris School, and I was taking my class to PE, and I saw a bunch of teachers gathering by the office. So after I dropped my kids off at PE, I went in the office to find out what was going on, and the principal told us, and we watched a little bit on TV, and then I had to go right back and pick up my class. So I didn't tell them about it until the end of the day when the principal came on and the teachers all had TVs in our classroom, so we were able to turn the TVs on and we got to watch some of the footage with our class and talk about it and answer questions for them and help them kind of understand what was happening.
On 9/11, I was in college going to Florida State University, and I was going to buy football tickets with my roommate and best friend, and we heard on the radio in the car a broadcaster from New York that went over all of the radio stations saying that there had been a crash in the building, in one of the towers. And it sounded very serious, but we weren't really concerned until we got back to our apartment. And on the news, on the television, we watched the second plane crash into the second tower, and then it got kind of scary. And we had all of our friends come together in our apartment, and we were just kind of watching the news all day and, you know, talking about it and discussing what was going on. And it was something that was scary because we weren't sure if it would go to other cities, but yeah, it was a time that I wouldn't forget.
On 9/11, I was teaching in Atwood, and a teacher came in and told me that something big was happening and that it was bad, and we were able to get to a TV and watch what was happening. It was a sad day.
When 9/11 happened, I was a freshman in high school and I was sitting in my Algebra 2 class. It happened around 9 and it was all over the televisions all day long. We watched the feed on it.
The thing that I remember the most about 9/11, I was at school at Durfee, and I was just doing morning reading, and I had two other teachers come in and tell me they weren't exactly for sure what had happened, but it was something, you know, very, very major. So I was scared all morning long and wanted to know, and I finally got downstairs and found a TV to watch what happened, and I was extremely, extremely sad.
On September 11th, 2001, I was teaching preschool in Mattoon, and I was in my classroom when I heard that there was a bomb that hit the World Trade Center, and it actually was an airplane. So we had brought a TV in and we actually watched the second plane hit the other tower, and that was a very, very scary day.
I was in Spanish class at Eisenhower High School.
On September 11th, I was actually working at Southeast Elementary School here in Decatur, and I had walked into the lounge around 9-ish or a little after, and they had the TV on, and they were showing the coverage of, I think it was probably like Good Morning America or one of those morning shows, and the first plane had already hit the Twin Towers, and so I actually got to see the second plane hit because they were filming, and I just remember being in shock. I worked with a lady whose daughter was in New York, and she was very worried about her, and ended up that she was fine. But I just remember all the staff that could be in there, we couldn't get away from the TV. Like, we were just so shocked and sad and just scared. And then I remember going home that night and just continuing to watch all the coverage of it. So I didn't have a classroom because I'm a speech teacher, so I kind of had a little bit more, you know, flexibility, and I didn't have to tell kids anything, which was nice because I think that would have been hard. But I will never forget it. Never forget it.